after a big win against Wisconsin. What does that mean for Alabama statistically? And let's predict the schedule going forward.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. So, Jimmy, I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk a little more about Wisconsin, where Alabama sits statistically, and some little odd and end things about Alabama. Also want to talk in a bit, maybe we can just see how these first three games have shaped what we think Alabama will do going forward. And then, of course, there's always some recruiting news, and we can look at the SEC. But jumping right into it, you know, the first thing that stands out to me, Ty Simpson going 24 of 29 Saturday, of course, went 17 of 17 against ULM. He's got 862 yards and 9 touchdowns, completing 72% of his passes. I mean, it feels like he still has some doubters out there. Man, how many other teams have played two Power 4 schools? And I look, granted, one gimme in ULM, but he's played a Wisconsin team that is historically pretty good. I know they're on a downward spiral right now, and an FSU team that is apparently very good. I mean, he's doing great.
First of all, not every Power 4 quarterback that plays a Sun Belt team goes 17 for 17. For anyone that wants to diminish the Monroe thing, it's not like he played well against Monroe. He played nearly perfectly. That doesn't happen against FCS-type opponents, much less FBS opponents. Ty has been pretty spectacular the last 2 weeks. Kind of partly cloudy week 1. I think if there are doubters out there, that would be fair, because Ty's going to have to play well against a good team to start silencing some of that. And I think that's fair. I don't know if the Georgia test is fair for a kid who's only made three starts, but, you know, Joey Aguilar, who is a very experienced quarterback, albeit not at this level, played well against Georgia. I think I'm just real pleased with where Ty is, but the real tests are to come. So I would say so far, so great, but the real tests to come.
Definitely the real tests are to come, and the real test is going to start very early. I mean, we'll get into this in the second segment, but predicting the rest of this schedule, I mean, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do it since we have a break and, juxtapose it to what we talked about in the beginning of the season. And now that we have a loss under our belt, I don't know if that's where you put your losses. You say you got a win under your belt. Do you say you put a loss under your belt?
Under a pillow?
You're thinking of the Tooth Fairy.
Those aren't pillows.
The Loss Fairy. So the next thing to talk about is Alabama and wide receivers, of course. Jeremy Bernard, he has 6 receiving plays of 20-plus yards. That's tied for third most in the SEC. What I'm surprised about with that, who the heck has more? I would guess that Mario Craver is one of them, because he went off against Notre Dame. And by the way, shout out to Mario Craver for being a Alabama kid. And I thought that was interesting. That I was thinking Jeremy Bernard might be number 1 with that.
Yeah, shout out to Todd McShay. I think it was very earlier this summer. Todd McShay was the first draft analyst I saw. There might have been others, but the first one that I saw put Germ in the first round. And I'll be completely honest, I thought that was over the top. And I said so at the time. And here's what I said. I remember specifically my problem. I said, first round wide receivers are one of 2 guys. They're physical freaks, like, for instance, Tet McMillan, who went in the first round last year, the kid from Arizona, just a physical freak in terms of size and speed. That'll put you in the first round. Or super productive kids, like an Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State, who was a first-round pick. Incredibly productive. As a matter of fact, caught more passes for more yards than any wide receiver in Ohio State history. Those are your first-round picks. And what I was saying at the time was I don't think Germ's a first-round pick because he's not going to have freak measurables. He's just a really good wide receiver. He's not a freak like Ted McMillan. And secondly, he's never had the production. He was number 4 wide receiver at Washington. He was solidly number 2 behind Ryan last year, I thought, in terms of being the go-to guy. He was number 2 last year. I just didn't see him having the production or the freak measurables, but that was before the season started. Now you know what we're seeing? First-round production. It is here now. So when I say I was wrong, I was just kind of half wrong. He hadn't had first-round production yet. He is now. This Germ is a first-round pick. Kudos to Tom McShay. Somebody else told me Field Yates had Germ in the first round. Not sure that's true. I watch Field all the time, but maybe it is true. Yates is good. But boy, Germ's been fantastic. He's a first-round pick today, I think.
So it sounds like people are catching on to what Germ could do, and they are predicting him in the first round. I guess you could say this Germ is contagious.
Germ, making people sick.
No,
I don't do it like
Germ Bernard making people sick.
you do that so well.
I know, well, I did it for a long time because it was Sherm the Germ. Back when anyway, nobody wants to hear all that. Now here's one, and we could talk about stats all day. But here's one that scares me.
Oh.
And I'm a little shocked we're not dead last. We're 14th in the SEC in rushing. And that is kind of nuts to me that nobody's worse than us. But when you look at the rest of them, who do you think is worse than us yardage-wise in the SEC rushing? Who do you think?
Kentucky?
No.
I don't know.
You can't pause long.
South
Carolina, yes. Okay. South Carolina, yes. And I wonder how much of that is. I wonder if, like, and again, I don't know this, but maybe they got a bunch of sacks. Vandy did, or a bunch of tackles for loss after their quarterback went down and Luke Doty had to come in. What do you think? Do you think Lenore Sellers?
I think that might have happened. I think the real issue here, though, is Alabama's pretty dreadful offensive numbers. They're rushing the balls. Frankly, it's not something I saw coming, though. Now that it's here, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I didn't see it coming, but I'm not shocked. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. I mean, I'm not being critical of any one particular player or any one particular coach. I'm just saying it's not good enough. You rushed for 175 last year against Georgia. Now, I know 117 of that came from the quarterback, and Ty Simpson's replacing some of that with better production through the air. But you can't just not run the ball and expect to win SEC football games. Alabama's going to have to get better running the football, or it's going to show up in the loss column, flat out.
The other team that I didn't mention is LSU. That's
really shocking. But boy, Brian Kelly's getting just beat up over their offensive issues, and heck, Nuss is hurt, and they're winning the games.
Yeah, Nuss is hurt, and he could be hurt a little bit. He's got a torso problem apparently, and they got a big game coming up with Ole Miss in a couple of weeks.
Started the year with a knee problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that would explain some of it. When people are like, boy, this quarterback stuff's upside down. I agree some were overranked and some were overrated. But Lagway missed a ton of time. He's been hurt. Nuss is really hurt. That is a factor, guys. You can't be thinking, oh, I don't care that he's hurt. Produce. That's not how the coaches look at it. It just still means, hey, he's our best option, but he's banged up. Nuss and Lagway, I don't think we're seeing them 100%. Now Sellers has a concussion. Meanwhile, look who's healthy. Ty Simpson and Gunnar Stockton.
Bo Pribula.
Man, he's good.
He's good.
Pretty good.
We're going to talk about
that Ahmad Hardy kid.
Oh my gosh. That guy is ridiculous. Anyway, I just think it's interesting. LSU is 15th in the SEC, and they're ranked number 3 in the country. And what that tells me is that somewhere here down the line, maybe very soon, LSU is going to have some problems. Now, you can say, well, so can't you say the same thing about Alabama? We've already had some problems.
We've already had problems. Yeah, we already have. And how about LSU turning the corner on defense? I mean, people, especially Alabama fans, have mocked LSU defensively. Remember the boy, they wasted Jaden Daniels' Heisman Trophy because their defense is so bad. And some people last year thought their defense was dreadful last year. It really wasn't. They didn't have a good day against Alabama, but they've turned a corner. That's a pretty scary group down there. I think all it took was getting Harold Perkins in a better spot and getting Harold Perkins and Weeks on the field at the same time, which they didn't have a year ago.
Yeah, their defense is a lot better, but I mean, still the rushing thing. And maybe this year there's just nobody outside of, I mean, I guess Missouri, who has just set the world on fire in terms of running. Because Georgia. Let me pull up Georgia really quickly. Georgia is 7th. I mean, number 1 is clearly Missouri. Missouri is the only team with more than 750 yards rushing so far.
And some of it's a product of their schedule. They haven't exactly played, the best teams in the Big Ten. I mean, some of it's the schedule. They've. I think this Lafayette team, the Louisiana team, they're really bad for them, and I think they played an FCS team. I guess they played Kansas, who's fairly good, but they're not Florida State, but they're fairly good.
Yeah. So let's predict the schedule going forward here in just a second. We're going to start out with the game cap because they sent us these game caps and we love them and they're fantastic. You need them. I mean, you just need them. Quick question for all you college football fans out there: if you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it'd be the game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKED ON, all one word, you'll get a vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com, grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design, and use code LOCKED ON for an exclusive discount. Because legends, you know what they do, Jimmy? They wear the game. Then there's 5 Hour Energy, and I'm going to find that little thing here in just a second. Should be more prepared. And where the heck is it? Is it down here at the bottom? I still don't see it. So I'm going to take the game off and just say, hey, we got it. I don't think they put it up there. But 5 Hour Energy, love 5 Hour Energy. I take it all the time. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's a great way to get a pick-me-up. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shots packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5 Hour Energy. It's number 5. hourenergy.com. You can also get all this at Amazon, which is, that's so easy and so awesome too. So 5 Hour Energy, go check it out. I'll let you go first, projecting the schedule in a forwardly fashion. So pull up a schedule so you can have it right there because I don't have time. You got it? Okay, good for you.
I sort of know it.
Oh, you do know it. That's good for you. All right, so let's assume we beat Eastern Illinois. Don't even need to throw that in there. So that would give Bama, with the 2 wins they have now, 3 wins, 1 loss. What do you think going forward?
You want me to go game by game or just give an overview?
I say game by game.
Georgia today, I'm going to say is a loss. And I say that in this sense. And I'm not saying there's no hope. Of course, I'm not saying that. I think there's points to be had against them. I'm saying the Alabama team we have seen so far is not good enough to beat Georgia and Athens. Doesn't mean they won't play their best game, and because they did last year, and DeBoer's very good at that. Hey, this is the biggest team we're playing, best game we're playing all year, and then they do it. So I ain't selling Alabama short. I'm just saying, if you're asking me to predict the game right now, the Alabama team we've seen so far isn't good enough to beat Georgia and Athens. So that's a loss.
No, you're going to stop there. Okay.
No, I can keep going. I mean,
you want us to do this? Okay, I'll just go with you. All right. I'll be your Huckleberry. Alabama wins against Georgia.
Oh, look at you trying to make popular with the listeners.
Well, I mean, it is. I get 33% more hate than you.
Oh,
So I think this might help.
well, we just flipped that.
But
We just flipped it just now.
well, let me just
And
say
I ain't done with losers. I ain't done with losses either, by the way.
well, let me say this. So Clint Shamblin, who does Locked On Bulldogs, I'm sure we'll have a crossover with him sometime between hither and yon when the game kicks off. But he came out and he said, Kirby Smart is 9-1 after bye weeks or something like that. And I said, oh, I wonder who the one is. Maybe he's 17-1. Maybe he's 17-1. I can't remember.
I would think Alabama's record's pretty good too, and DeBoer's very good in these big games. So I can't wait, and I can't wait for Alabama to prove, hey, this is your chance. Prove how good you are to everyone, including Alabama fans, including me, including everyone.
Yeah.
Vandy's going to be a win, though. I agree with anyone that's sweating out Alabama's ability to defend Vanderbilt's specific type offense. If you're sweating that out, I'm with you 100%. But Alabama wins this game, but it's tight.
Okay, I'm with you on that as well. I'm going to say same everything you said. I agree with. I think Vandy's going to be a tough out. They're not done winning either. You said we're not done losing. Well, they're not done winning. They've got two. I call them layups. You never know, but I think they've got two layups coming up, so they should roll into Tuscaloosa undefeated.
How about that's a prime time game on ABC? That is stunning.
But if Alabama were to win, I would make the case it might be a game day game.
Yeah, I think that's within the realm of possibility, which is triple stunning. At Missouri, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. At Missouri is next. Right now, I'm going to say loss. For the same reason, Alabama has not played well on the road against really good teams. I think Missouri's a top 15 team in the country. I think they're a playoff contender. I think they've got a good quarterback and a good running back and a good defense. And Alabama just has not shown they can go on the road and consistently beat good teams. I'm going to say for now that's also a loss and Alabama's third loss.
Gosh, Debbie Downer. Well, you really want to be on that hate list.
I know. Well, it's time we flip this script.
I'm going to say win. And again, I'm being homerific. In the end, I think Alabama has more good players. Now, here's the catch. Missouri's, it's not necessarily a cakewalk in the SEC at any time, but their schedule to our game is much easier than our schedule to their game. Mm-hmm. And, on the road, like you said, we've had our troubles. Mm-hmm. The lone exception being LSU last year, of course, in the SEC at least. And the other thing that I think works in Alabama's favor, though, is an 11 o'clock game. That's already been determined.
Yep.
So it's an 11 o'clock game. Those 11 o'clock games at home, you can come out being a little flat.
Yep.
And so, I think Alabama just has more good players. So I will pick Alabama to win that.
Fair.
Okay.
Certainly fair. Then next is home game against Tennessee. This is where I think, assuming the leadership on the team, Ty, Parker, Keenan, and Deontay, assuming they hold it all together, Tennessee is where they turn it around. A playoff-worthy, playoff-contending Tennessee team loses to Alabama in a classic in Tuscaloosa, and this kickstarts some good vibes. Alabama beats Tennessee in Tuscaloosa.
I will also say Alabama wins that game. Here's one reason I think so. Okay, yes, they've got some frisbee catching dogs out there, so Tennessee can do some big things probably against even our secondary, and I think our secondary is pretty good. However, I think we can do some good things against them. Georgia is not necessarily, Houston with Andre Ware out there, and Gunnar Stockton was able to complete some nice throws against them. And here's the other thing: most of them were intermediate passes, which is where we're Vikings. So I'm going to say Alabama wins this one as well. It's been a long time since Alabama lost to Tennessee in Tuscaloosa, and until they do it, I'm not going to predict it. So I say Alabama wins that one as well.
Then you're at South Carolina. I had this as a loss before the season started. This is one I flipped. I think the Tennessee win kicks off Alabama on a good note. I think South Carolina is not as good as valued in the preseason. I think Missouri's better. South Carolina's down. I think now Missouri becomes the second hardest game to win on the road. I like Alabama getting that road win, feeling good after beating Tennessee. They stroll into Columbia, South Carolina, and get a quality road win there that's going to look pretty good on the resume.
Yeah. Again, the other thing that comes into play certainly is Lenoris Sellers available? I mean, I think he had a concussion now, so my guess is he'll be back. But it may be one of those things where if South Carolina starts going downhill quickly, do you want to come back if you're Lenoris Sellers when you've been projected way up there in the draft? I hate to feel like kids will think that way, but it could be an issue. I was going to predict Alabama to win regardless, but I'm going to pick Alabama to win, obviously, since I said regardless. So I'm picking Alabama to win.
Next would be after an off week, the home game against LSU. Again, I've got Alabama beating Tennessee, beating South Carolina on a roll, get highly ranked, headed to the playoff. LSU, Alabama wins another tight one. It's tight. Good game here. A lot of hitting out there. Alabama's improving defense and LSU's improving defense. This game might be a little lower scoring than others. Alabama wins something like 20-17 and another beaut.
I would say the exact same thing. I think Alabama's going to have a good opportunity here. It's going to be a challenge of which quarterback's really going to step up, because I think obviously both running games are not ideal. I thought that LSU's would be improved. They got that Harlem Berry kid, right? They've got Caden Durham. They've got some what I would consider to be dudes. Well, I thought we had what I consider to be dudes. If Jam Miller comes back and our running game turns around, I might change my mind in terms of the score differential. But right now, I think your 20-17 score is probably a good one for that, because I think Alabama's defense is underrated. I mean, there are people who, they kept – I heard somebody on national radio, well, I gave up 14 to Wisconsin, a Wisconsin team that was down this and that. And I was like, yeah, but one of them was a kickoff return after a 15-yard penalty, and the other one was late in the game, and it didn't really matter. So anyway, the next game will be Oklahoma, of course. I'm going to pick a win. I don't feel super confident about it, but I'm going to pick a win.
I'm going to say Alabama wins this game too, though I will say that Alabama could go into this game at home as an underdog. I think Oklahoma might be having that type of season. Mateer could be in the driver's seat to win the Heisman Trophy. A lot of things going Oklahoma's way here, but the revenge part of it, the aspect, Alabama's playing their best football of the season. They've won 3 really nice games in a row. They make it 4 in a row over Oklahoma, and lo and behold, the playoff talk comes back to Tuscaloosa after beating Oklahoma in this game.
Eastern Illinois, we said we'd bypass that, so now we get to Auburn. That's where I think you and I will have another difference. I'm going to pick Auburn to win that game right now. I reserve the opportunity to change my mind. I had been thinking all year long Auburn would win that game. One of the reasons I think they'll win that game is because I believe Auburn will go on a little bit of a losing streak right now. And then I think that will be Hugh Freeze's, like, hey, this is how I save my job and get everybody back on my team, is pour everything I have into the Alabama game. And I think that they will do that. And I think that they'll win that game. And that leaves Alabama with 2 losses by my projections. Now, if you say, okay, Luke, you gave Alabama every coin flip, then I'd say, okay, maybe we lose to that Georgia game, which I consider sort of a coin flip. Then that would make Alabama 9-3, and I still think in fact, I would say they probably make the playoffs with that, considering the schedule.
Yeah, I'm going to have Alabama beating Auburn to finish 9-3, and now I agree with Luke. This is going to be an incredibly difficult game for Alabama to win under all these circumstances. The reason I would like Alabama in this scenario is last year they went on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, where a win on the road that late in the season probably puts you in, because you're going to be such a big favorite against Auburn. They failed miserably in that spot last year. I think this year they get it done. Again, DeBoer usually pretty good in these big spots. I think Alabama just barely squeezes out another Jordan Hare type miracle like the Gravedigger and the Bryce Young overtime game. I think it'll take something like that, but then Alabama finishes 9-3. I know most people say, hey, 9-3 doesn't get you in the playoff. I think it will this year. And not only is it 9-3, let's remember this is under my scenario, similar to Luke's, but under my scenario, Alabama just finished 6-2 in the SEC. That puts you in. It probably puts you in Atlanta. 6-2 probably puts you in Atlanta, and any team that goes to Atlanta is going to the playoff. If they're 6-2 and in Atlanta, you're going to the playoff, especially in a year in which the committee has been basically told put teams with a tough schedule in, even if they have one more loss than someone else with a better one-loss record but a weaker schedule. So I put Alabama in the playoff at 9-3.
Let me tell everybody about Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is a lot of fun. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. It's all one word, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, to get $50 off. $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks. You know what? It's good to be right when you're using Prize Picks. Now I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. And I know their little thing's up here somewhere, and I'm going to find it. And boy, there we go. They got too many of these things. I mean, that's good. We got a lot of sponsors. I like it. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Look, I love using FanDuel because it fits whatever I want to do. If you like to bet player props, building the same game parlay, or even jumping in as the live action is taking place, you can do that with FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet, and then you win all that cash. And then, that's awesome. All right, second segment ran a little long, so we'll be short here. But, Jimmy, there is some recruiting news both on football and basketball. Alabama has offered some new people, and now some of them are 3 stars, but they won't be for long, I bet.
I don't know anything about that. I think these senior season bloomers are often relegated to 3 stars because the 4-star spots have already sort of been spoken for. And I do think that senior season late bloomers have an uphill climb for a couple of things: rankings, rev share money, which is largely spoken for, NIL money, which is sort of largely spoken for. So what they're getting really here is opportunity that they didn't know they would have before their senior season started. Now, some of these senior season late bloomers turn into great football players. They just happen to. Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., I think, is a perfect example of a senior season bloomer who just ended up being a different kid. TJ Yeldon, I know he was highly rated at one point. TJ Yeldon was a much different football player as a senior than he was earlier in his career. But yeah, that's just happening. I do think Alabama could end up with a couple more guys to add. There's a safety from Maryland that plays with Jira Edwards. Very possible there. There's a defensive lineman from Mobile, Caleb Morris. Mary Montgomery is committed to Mississippi State. I know a lot about him.
That's the guy that I was talking about, because he's been offered by Auburn. I know some other teams. Alabama just got in the mix. He's apparently turned some heads. You know, that Mary Montgomery team is like number 3 in the state. They're good.
They're good, and Caleb's a big part of that. And I was very aware of Caleb even last year. He's always been good. I think the question with him is size. I mean, was he going to grow into, because he's sort of like built today like an outside guy, but long-term projection is he's an inside guy. So is he going to grow? Because for him to be really effective, in my opinion, he's going to have to be a 280, 285 guy, and he's probably in the 260s right now. But I think now the projection is, this guy's going to be plenty big enough, and I think he might be a really good fit in Alabama's scheme. I would look at that. He's committed to Mississippi State. There's some other kids I'm really intrigued by. The Georgia defensive lineman, Corey Howard, who's committed to Georgia. I think the real question there is Georgia going to fight to keep him? If so, might be tough to get him if Georgia's going to fight to keep him. I think that's yet to be determined. They have 7 defensive linemen already committed in their group. Maybe this is somebody that they're not going to fight to keep. Also, somebody Alabama's not going to break the bank for.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to break the bank for any of these kids, I don't think. I think this is just hey, we're going to give you a heck of an opportunity here and a scholarship here. I don't know. I don't think, but that's not something we know. All we can do is speculate. When we speculate, we could be really wrong. I'm sure all these kids are getting, something.
Isn't that
Anyway,
the old saying? Isn't that the old saying? Speculate makes an ass out of you and me. No, that's something different.
That's a different word. Jared Doty, an offensive lineman from Georgia, very interesting. And he's a senior season blow up everybody likes. Now, that kid might be pricey because here comes Auburn, here comes Oklahoma, here comes Georgia. He's setting up officials to all those places. This kid's all of a sudden looking highly recruited. And he was a late bloomer. He's an offensive tackle, which Alabama would love to have. And a lot of athleticism there. This is just a kid who, boom, the light came on. And he's got the size and the speed and the feet. A lot of schools like him. Jared Doty, he's going to be a big deal late. I think with him, it's okay. Who has the means to make him a high priority? I think is the question that's left down the stretch here, because everybody else is in the same position Alabama's in, in terms of the rev share. Everybody's spending the same thing. Who's in a position to have enough to entice a fairly big name down the stretch?
And a couple of basketball notes very quickly. Caleb Holt was in. It seems like he had a great time. I'm feeling better and better about him. Dylan Mingo, I haven't heard a ton. I know he shared a bunch of pictures on Instagram, but that's sort of standard issue. And then a couple of dudes, Adonis and Darius Ratliff, who are the sons of Theo Ratliff, who's from the state of Alabama, spent a lot of time in the NBA. He actually went to college at Wyoming and played for a former Alabama assistant. And look, if Alabama's able to, they're 6'11" and 7 feet, by the way. So if Alabama's able to get those two dudes and get Caleb Holt, I mean, forget about Dylan Mingo. I would love to get Dylan Mingo, but I'm saying you just get Holt and those two dudes with the guys we already have. It's the best class in Alabama history, and it's probably the best class in the country this year.
I think that's something it's like an evergreen thing to say. I mean, every year it's like, that's the best basketball class. Nope. And the next year, nope, this is the best one. That's just Nate Oates. The Ratliff twins, by the way, national top 50, national type 60 type players. Luke's right. I mean, you already got a top 50 guy and a top 20 guy. Caleb Holt would be a top 2 guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's way up there. And the Ratliff twins, wow. Just wow. That's just the best way to describe Nate Oates recruiting. Wow.
It'd be a lot of fun. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.